Welcome to Take Brain Talk with your girl Flavilla Phone Gang. And today I'm going to fuel your brain with some bomb knowledge. Are you ready? Let's do it. Hey people, welcome back to Tech Brains Talk. And I'm so excited to do this episode because finally I have another woman on my podcast. As much as I like talking to men, but I actually enjoy as well talking to women. And today we're going to be talking about leveraging your past experiences to create the tech career you want. And I think more than ever, especially now, we realize how much being, social distancing and how much technology has an impact and allow us to stay connected. There's a big issue, especially in the UK and to connect everywhere, in terms of not having enough talent, people with the talent to work in technology. And I'm so glad to have Kathryn Tingle with me. Let me tell you something about Kathryn because she's amazing and I think you will love her too. Kathryn Tingle is a strategy and tech lead with 8 years experience of working with FTSE 100 companies along with early stage startups and scale-ups. She started in strategy management consulting and has since taken on many interesting roles. Not only does she speak at industry-leading events, but she contributes to accelerator programs for companies in the tech and startup ecosystem looking to raise VC funding and scale. So Kathryn and I, people don't know that, but we met at an event, I think it was organized by Foundervine and Cornerstone, right?
Yeah, that is correct.
Absolutely. And we got along straight away. And, we haven't had a chance to physically see each other lately, but, we've still been in touch and I love, what she's doing. She's been very involved and you are a giver. And I love that about you, Kathryn.
Oh, thank you. I do try to be a giver.
You have to be. So I want people to get to know you. I wonder if you could take some time to really tell us your journey. How did you start? What was your aha moment and what led you to where you are right now?
Sure. Well, thank you so much, first and foremost, for welcoming me. Such a warm welcome onto your podcast, which I love. And in terms of my journey, I mean, you've given a very nice introduction. But essentially, if we go back a few more years, I actually started off in law. So I studied at King's College London. I did my law degree, then went to law school. Was able to equip myself with great skills, but wanted to get more hands-on experience in terms of advising clients and businesses. So that's when I transitioned into management consulting, strategy management consulting, should I add. And I started out in a boutique consulting firm that actually leveraged tech to deliver a great service to, again, FTSE 100, Fortune 500 companies across various different industries. And they leverage their tech platform by providing a repository of best practices, workbooks. At the time, kind of transformation roadmaps was a huge thing for major businesses. And my clients ranged from the likes of Barclays Capital, Credit Suisse, also thinking about kind of British American Tobacco. So they had a whole host of clients that I worked with. And I then decided, one of my aha moments was, okay, I love consulting. I love the variety that's involved in it and the problem solving. But I kind of want to come out of this best practice kind of methodology and be afforded a little bit more flexibility and creativity when solving kind of the top strategic issues of businesses. And that's when I went into the Big Four, and I was within strategy consulting there. And that was great. I was able to be a little bit more creative, lived out my suitcase a lot of the time. And in my personal life, I love traveling. In my professional life, it's not actually as glamorous as it looks on the outside looking in. So I decided that, again, I wanted to move the dial in terms of providing tailored advice to businesses, and also being involved not only from inception of when they kind of decide that they want to either launch a kind of transformation program or launch a new product or service or subsidiary, But I also wanted to see that all the way through to delivery and post implementation. And I guess at that time, this is when I really had my aha. Digital and tech is a place that I wanted to be. And I moved within an internal consulting team that reported straight into, we reported straight into the chief digital officer. And I was a digital strategy lead within that team. And I delivered some really amazing programs. And that's kind of where the career side really kicked off. And then also kind of outside of my 9 to 5, I also contribute significantly to the startup and tech ecosystem. And that's through, like you said, so contributing to accelerators. Obviously, we met at the Foundervine and Cornerstone event, which was amazing, right? It was kind of the first startup accelerator, which was Black led in Europe. So the first one of its kind in the whole of Europe. Mm-hmm. And we were afforded the opportunity to act as business mentors. And that's a bit of a flavor of kind of the value that I can say but if I'm speaking about myself, I bring to the startup world in terms of really advising founders on their strategic roadmaps, thinking about how they can pursue operational and strategic excellence to unlock that scaling opportunity, which adds to their growth, puts them into kind of the positive capital space of things, and also, maybe wanting to raise VC funding as well. So I really enjoy contributing to the startup world as well, and especially working with diverse founders.
Yes, that leads me to the next question, because it's interesting because of the way, you obviously have a very diverse experience working from, large companies to obviously startups. It's a very different dynamic. So I'm interested in understanding from your point of view, do you believe that they make the same type of mistakes, or do you think because of the size of the business, the mistakes are slightly much more in a bigger scale, or the mistakes are the same?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question. I think that the root of some of the problems are similar. Mm-hmm. But again, like you said, two different scales, because, if you're working in a huge kind of corporation as opposed to a really hopefully agile and nimble startup, the scale of those problems will feel different. Mm-hmm. But I think the core of the problem, that could be the setup of teams. So your teams aren't high performing. They're not working to their kind of optimal level, whether that's a leadership or management issue. I think that, you see that a lot within huge businesses. And then if you relate that issue to startup businesses, you'll see that maybe they've had some kind of traction, some positive traction, and then they kind of bite off more than they can chew, and they try to scale too quickly. So it means that they kind of expand their teams more than they needed to. Which kind of creates a similar challenge in terms of not having high performing teams, or maybe having high turnover, not having the right management and leadership. Yeah. Just as businesses are customer first, now more than ever, I think companies and the world is realizing that your people and your talent is everything. It's reflective of your success. It's reflective of how quickly you can accelerate on your plans. So I think you do see that in both in both worlds, big business versus kind of small startup businesses.
I totally agree with you. And it's one thing that I've, obviously from a branding point of view, as you know, we both work, with brand, but for me, I've always talked about the importance of culture. People don't choose to work with you because if you employ people who just do the work, but they have no interest in, establishing or, driving that vision that you're trying to create, then what is the point? You're going to lose people. And, it's funny, I was talking to a recruitment company, said that the cost of losing an employee is about 30K on the average. That's obviously, I'm talking about junior, even just junior level, that's 30K on average.
Yeah.
You have to bear that in mind.
No, I was just about to just kind of reiterate that point. I mean, the cost of losing talent and then having to kind of rehire and retrain is actually astronomical. And it's not only just from a finance perspective, like you said, on average 30K, but also the time and the risk it does to kind of the pace of progression, and also the knowledge that's lost with every kind of employee leaving your business if you're not fostering the right culture, Yeah.
And it can have as well an impact on the moral, because if you have somebody that you really enjoy working with and you decide to leave, then you feel like, why am I staying here? And it leads to all the question. And that leads me to obviously the topic that we're going to be talking about. But before we talk about the topic, there's one question I always like to ask my guests is the decision that you took or didn't take that could have changed your entire life right now. What would that be? What would that be? What was it?
Wow, that is a big question. I'll stay within the professional realm. If you know what I mean.
When you think about from a point of view, okay, let's stay in the professional ground. I know that, for example, for me, one of the things that's really changed my life was the moment I decided to come to London. I had a choice of going to business school in Paris or stay or come to London. And I think that decision has obviously changed my entire life. So from a business or professional perspective, is it something that you decide to take that changed where you are right now, what your life is about, or maybe you didn't take it?
Yeah, exactly. And I think I would echo what you said in terms of like deciding whether to stay in France or, come to London. Mm-hmm. I was kind of considering when I was applying for university, whether I would apply directly to US based universities. So, I did contact Columbia and a few other universities, and that could have majorly changed the course of kind of my career. Mm-hmm. And I think also another thing is that decision as to whether I continued my my law career and went through the ranks of kind of qualification and onwards, or if I went straight into management consulting. But I would have to say I am a firm believer of, you are where you are supposed to be.
Yeah.
And yeah, I wouldn't change it.
Yeah, absolutely. It made you who you are. So let's now get into the subject. We're talking about leveraging your past experiences to create the tech career that you want, whatever you are an employee or whether you are an entrepreneur. And I think we talk about the importance of, I think we've obviously COVID-19, the number of tech roles who probably don't even exist yet will rise even more. And it's funny having a conversation about that I think there's definitely, a key interest in pushing for more support behind tech brands more than ever. So I'm keen in terms of the value that you're going to give us around that topic. So tell us everything. What are people missing out right now? What are they not seeing?
Sure. So I think what's needed right now. So if you are, for example, a founder and you have a tech-enabled business or a pure player within kind of like tech, what is missing is kind of access to funding, access to basic support, like entrepreneurial support. And I think that is, especially diverse founders, that is something that, is missing. And if you just think about a few statistics, I mean, it's said that less than 1% of VC and investor funding globally goes to diverse businesses. And that's been the case for a very long time. And if we think about women and female founders, that funding pot it shrinks even more. And when you're thinking about the UK kind of startup and business landscape, especially during coronavirus, we've seen the government, talk about this future fund that businesses are now applying to, and there's been some updates even today around the statistics of diverse businesses that have been able to tap into that pool, which has been extremely limited because of the barriers that are put in place, which makes it inaccessible for the majority of diverse businesses.
What are the barriers that people don't see, or maybe they see? What are those barriers? Because people may say, well, there's not enough of them applying for for these investment opportunities. Where's the problem coming from?
Yeah, I think it's really nuanced. It's not just about these businesses not applying, because a lot of VCs, and I know that the CEO of Impact X, which is a black based VC fund.
Yes.
He even went on BBC News and he was saying, VCs say that there's a pipeline issue, but actually there isn't a pipeline issue when it comes to diverse businesses. So it's not that these businesses aren't applying to for funding. It's more nuanced than that. It could be, that they don't have the network to get the warm handshakes that maybe their white counterpart business owners that have an Oxford and Cambridge kind of education, or kind of family and friend network of kind of a high net worth individuals who will help them kind of pump capital into their business to make them successful and to allow them to scale. Some of these diverse founders don't have that opportunity. So that in of itself kind of shows some of the challenges that these businesses are facing. And then also the kind of the microaggressions or just the discrimination, whether it's unconscious bias, conscious bias, whatever title you want to put onto it. If a founder that is sitting in front of a very non-diverse panel of VCs, and they don't identify with the pitch, or they don't identify with that founder as someone that they could work with, that again is just due to discrimination and prejudice. It doesn't mean that that founder doesn't have an amazing idea that even could get to unicorn status with the right support and the right funding. No, it just means that maybe their ears and their eyes weren't actually as open as they should be, because that person doesn't strike familiarity within them in order to be open enough to receive whatever greatness is actually in front of them, but it just doesn't feel like what they're used to.
Yes. And in your eyes, obviously Impact X, I know them very, very well as well. We actually have Yvonne Bajela as well on the podcast.
Yeah.
And
love Yvonne.
She's great. And what do you think it's the best approach to solve, in your eyes, the best approach to solve this issue? Where should we start?
So I would say that systemic and institutional kind of discrimination has been here for years. And despite, our BLM kind of efforts, especially of late, and kind of trying to amplify the issues that that occur within kind of the startup and business world, let alone just the world in general. I think sometimes we have to park that, and then we just have to pursue our business ideas with excellence, in the sense that you are putting your best foot forward. You're finding the right kind of mentorship the right startup communities of founders, like YSYS, like Foundervine, who have a wealth of resources that you can use as a springboard, that can put you a few steps ahead. There are accelerator programs available, which again will connect your business with expert advice and help you on that kind of growth trajectory. So it's kind of that saying of, be so good that they can't ignore you. Really commit yourself to investing in your business, and that's not just from a financial perspective, but that is your energy, that is your time, that is kind of your learning, and all of those things. And quite frankly, your network, as cliche as it sounds, your network is your net worth.
Yes.
So get yourself out there. Start thinking, you're the brand queen. So you know all about this, but think about your branding. When people think about your name as a founder or your business, what are the key things that you want to be recognized for? And how can you start strategically shaping your brand, your personal brand, your business brand, in respect to those things?
That is super important. And it's one thing that I was actually talking about that people who don't know that, but I also run TLA Black Women in Tech, and this is for Black Women in Tech, but you do not have to be a Black woman in tech to actually attend our events or come to our webinar. It's really open. It's interesting because one of the speakers asked how many people close to you in your close network look like you. And some people had exactly the same time, only Black girlfriends. And that's not good, because when you want to be able to go outside your comfort zone, you need to have people who are, probably white, people who are, men, not just the same type of people. So it means that you're not able to adapt to different situations. So again, something, whether you're white, whether you're Black, listen to this podcast, look at who is around you, how diverse is your close network. If you only have people who look like you, there's something that you are missing out. You are closing your circle of opportunities. And probably as well, from another side, if you're in a situation where you have a strong advantage to, bring diversity, use that power for the advantage of others. And that's what we really want to talk about here. We're going to take a short break and be back in a couple of seconds. See you soon.